0 viewers again.
Aw. No one wanted to wait for the banter?
Ah, based off of how it has gone, I'm sure that they'll trickle in.
Hmm.
So, let's see. What was the main thing that we were discussing that we were pushing to the after hour? It was something about the crossover of
Religion.
voodoo and Christianity. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was about to go on I was biting my tongue to stop from going on a tirade about, how, uh, I mean, I don't remember exactly what was on my mind, but that's basically was what it was probably going to come down to was, um, you know, Christianity's insidious way of implanting itself like a virus into every culture it touches.
Well, I do know that that is your opinion. I know that. I know that. And I do know that there are pieces of that that are shared with me. Um, because, yeah, man, Christianity was really, really used against slaves,
Hmm.
like in the harshest of ways.
Right.
Like the idea that you have to suffer through your mortal life so that you can get the reward of heaven as an afterlife.
Yep.
So that basically, if you forced that on that religion onto slaves, you almost guaranteed that they would never take their own lives and shorten your profit.
Right.
Like, so I do know that Christianity has been used in really awful ways, but I don't know if it's broken everything it's touched.
Well, and it hasn't even. I mean, that's the thing is like it wasn't even just the slaves. Like they kind of did that to everybody. I mean, uh, even the free white man was basically told that the toil was the virtue in and of itself by wealthy people who were profiting off of that toil.
Oh,
And
I'm not
yeah,
like when I know when I say slavery, I know that the ear hears black people, but I'm not being specific.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Like that is just that's more the undereducated, the serfs, the peasants, the slaves. Like everything that falls into that category, it has been used against them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and
So
that's
I'm
kind of
and
like
that's
and here's
that's really hard to argue because like one, if you straight up just believe that, then you're like, no, but that's the truth. Two, if
mm,
you don't believe that, you just kind of look at that as really fucked up.
right. It's a
So
it's a it's a it, Well, and that's the kind of one of the things that I have to wonder personally, because and it's one of those unfortunate things that I imagine if the history is recorded somewhere, it's probably under lock and key, somewhere in the basement of the Vatican, probably.
I'm
Um,
sure there's more down there than we can even imagine.
yeah, I wonder what Christianity was in the beginning, because in the 2,000 years that it has been a major, superpower in of itself, I find it.
Well, much more than 2,000 years. It was only 2,000 years ago that Jesus walked. But Christianity existed before that.
Did it?
I thought it did. I mean, Jesus led Christians. Like, you had the Roman Catholic Church that executed him. Pontius
I guess when
Pilate was Roman Catholic.
was he?
I seriously thought so.
Because I feel like that was kind of my understanding of it was that it was like you've got your Old Testament, which is essentially what Judaism follows, and then the New Testament was the life of Jesus, and that is what Christianity is, to my understanding. That's the thing is like
It sounds like you actually know more about that than I do.
I'm not 100% sure on that. This is because here's what I've come to realize. There are the professed tenets of Christianity, which is
Okay, wait,
the
I got an answer here.
okay.
So, dating back to the first century AD, with the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth, it began as a Jewish sect and gradually evolved into a distinct religion spreading throughout the Roman Empire and beyond.
Okay. That's not, yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. something
Okay,
like that.
so yeah, it's just my date over the Roman Catholicism was a little bit skewed.
Right.
So then, who did Pontius Pilate worship? Did they worship the Roman gods at that point?
Well, I see. That's where I think we're kind of. I think the idea of worshiping a god may have started with Christianity. I think when it comes to Romans, these were not gods that they worshipped as much as they were idols and icons to be referenced to for different meditations. Like in the same way that we've talked about before about how like the stories of Hercules and all them, they're very akin to Superman and Batman today. This is just how we tell stories and do culture, is we have these larger than life characters that get handed around through different stories.
Where that's true, if you are about to sit there and straight face tell me that there are people on this planet that don't worship Superman, I'm a straight face call you a liar.
Okay. But I mean, that's the thing, is like I think worship in
But
the
I
same
got a
sense.
little answer here. So
Yeah.
Pontius Pilate, as a Roman governor, would have adhered to the traditional Roman polytheistic religion. So he would have worshipped the multiple gods, including like Jupiter and such.
Right. But
Okay,
again, that
so
that that raises the question of how do we define worship? Because that's the thing. Is like I feel like this idea of like genuine, true, like there is a man in the sky watching me, and I must give my entire faith to him kind of mentality feels like a uniquely Christian thing sometimes, and that
I
most of them it's
very much
more
have to wildly disagree. And yes, I can go through a few different religions, but the one main one I'm going to hit is Egyptian.
okay.
They
Okay.
straight up worshiped their gods, and they even worshiped their pharaoh as a god.
Well, and see, that's kind of like what it brings me to, is that idea of the pharaoh being a living god demanding worship kind of thing. It feels like a king thing, you know, like when I've read the Bible, and I have read the Bible, unlike most Christians. The way it's
You
it's
have such a hate boner for them. Like, you're
the
almost one
god.
of the few people that I guarantee have not been bad touched by a priest, and you have way more hatred for them than, like, so many others. It's wild. But everybody has their reasons.
Right. I mean, I think it's kind of this is a thing because I have to constantly get in this argument with members of my family. I get really punchy about it because it's like
Oh, okay.
I'm
So
sick of
this
this
is like a
argument.
family argument. Okay, I can
Yeah.
now I understand the sensitivities when we keep walking into this. Okay, now I understand it a little better now.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's the thing, is like when I read these, I remember thinking to myself, this sounds like a king with superpowers. The way God demands everyone obey and worship and just do what he wants and never betray him, never, like when I think of an all-powerful, all-knowing being, I think of a being that could give two shits what I do, let alone what I think of him. But this
But was
God,
it God who did that, or was it his entourage?
that's kind of my point. Okay, and I realize that I'm coming at this in a very, very roundabout way, in a very, very non-scholarly way, because it's a mostly personal experience here. I did
We're in
not,
the after
I
hour.
did not attend a seminary or anything like that. But I genuinely believe that Christianity, as it exists today, however it started or whatever, as it exists today, is just the idea of oligarchy made borderless.
Well,
It's
the like something that has one, it made me very happy and it made me sad at the same time. More sad at first, but there was this pastor that he went out talking about this, and people were coming to him after his sermons and being like, "What is with all this liberal snowflake, all this stuff?" And he's like,
right, yeah. It was the Sermon on the Mount.
"That's the
Yes,
Bible. That
yeah.
is the
He
Bible.
was he was
It is
quoting the
not
Sermon on the Mount. Yeah.
political. You got like your politics are changing. All of this is going on. All of this.
Hmm.
This is the Bible," which is really, really funny to me because the main character in the Bible we're all supposed to model ourselves after.
Hmm.
People who are hardcore Christians are calling him liberal, but he's the dude we're supposed to model ourselves after.
Right. Yeah.
How are you so lost in your political aspects?
I'll tell you
That
why.
is so crazy confusing to me.
No, I'll tell you why, and it's not even entirely about politics. It just happened to fall that way, and I'll explain why. Because even in the Sermon on the Mount, um, that's a great example. If you take a look at the Sermon on the Mount and you read the things, Jesus said, turn the other cheek, love thy neighbor, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
There is one that has a philosophy behind it, and that is, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. There's a philosophy behind that. There's a reasoning behind that. The meek will be the ones left over after all the warring people kill each other off. It's a way of thinking. There is a sort of spiritual philosophy behind that.
That is an
Every
interesting way to take that, actually.
Yeah, everything else that he
Yeah.
says, turn the other cheek, blessed are the peacemakers, all of them, the reasoning behind that is, for they shall be blessed by my Father, for they will have the kingdom of heaven. It's all just, well, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Everything else, blessed because I said so. What it comes down to in Christianity, with all the tenets that they proclaim to have, and maybe even did originally have when they started as actual philosophies, now the one true, undeniable, no matter what situation, tenet of Christianity is obedience. That's the only thing that really, really matters in Christianity anymore. Regardless of Jesus, regardless of what your spirituality or upbringing in, the one true, unbreakable tenet of Christianity is obedience. Whether it is the obedience of you obeying God, obeying the priest, obeying your father, obeying your husband, it's obedience. Everything else is fungible.
The part that sucks about that is even like throughout, I mean, the way that we talk and stuff like that, I know it's probably hard to tell, but I am still a Christian. Like, I am a Christian. Like, that is like, and that is one of the biggest things. Like, when I was in the entertainment industry and I was like going, that is the thing that people ripped into me the absolute most on.
Sure.
And I gotta say, that is something that about you guys that really sucks. Like, it's all about acceptance and you do your thing, everything like that, until the thing that other people are doing is not what you guys want. And I'm saying like you guys, like
No,
I'm drawing you in on that pretty hard, but I don't really mean to. But
no, I understand.
when I was out there, literally this whole culture about acceptance and everything, the second that I talked about something that they didn't approve of, there was no route of acceptance for me or that aspect of me. It was just out in the cold. Kind of fucked up.
No, I understand, and it's not fair to you for sure, because in the years I've known you, I know you're a good man, and so I can give you the benefit of the doubt on a lot of things. To In their defense, though, okay, like, and I do sit here and I will talk about Christianity, and sometimes I will even give broader, just generally, I think this about religion,
And I mean, but that's
but
the thing. Like I say, it's probably hard for our audience to
mm,
tell because I do
because
recognize a
yeah.
lot of shit.
But here's the thing though. Okay, and so here's an example. Like for instance, a lot of there's a lot of Buddhist practitioners who are vegetarian, for example, because they've got the very some of the very strong Buddhist beliefs have to do with doing no harm, doing as little harm as possible, if not no harm in your life, and a lot of them kind of take the approach that eating meat is doing harm, and so as part of their religious belief, they become vegetarian. Never
I find that
once to
ridiculous, but I do see where they're coming from.
Sure, yeah, and same thing. I mean, I am not a vegetarian myself. I don't follow that, and it's very much a for me and what few Buddhist
But I
friends I
grew up
have,
in
it's yeah.
I like
I'm getting to a point.
because oh, go ahead. Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
getting to a point. Okay. Never once in my life, ever, have I experienced or heard of a Buddhist politician trying to make eating meat illegal. while I may disagree philosophically with Buddhists on that, never once in my life have I been threatened by them for not believing it. There are a lot of people who have been threatened by Christians for not believing in them. And while it is absolutely not fair to take that out on you, you do have to understand that a lot of people are very, very defensive about it because they tend to be quite often. And not for nothing, we kind of are under assault with it right now on a very large scale.
God, I love the internet.
Did
And
you
this is
just
what
find a Buddhist politician that's trying to make eating meat illegal?
no, I didn't specifically look that up, but I
Okay.
did find in Myanmar there are Buddhist monks that have been involved in violent actions against the Rohingya Muslim minority.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Oh, I'm certainly not saying that the Buddhists are, I mean, it's a little weird
oh no,
considering,
it is weird to hear Buddhists involved in, you know,
but like that is like
in political
literally
violence. That is
that is
kind of
literally
weird.
the exact opposite of everything that I have ever heard about Buddhism for sure.
But
But
that's kind of the point that I'm getting to there is the like actually a good way that I could have sidestepped going down the Buddhist track is every single military base,
Mhm.
the whole country, whole world, whatever town is right next to that, does not matter what branch of service, they hate that branch of service because you have the few that go out and absolutely ruin it for the many.
Yeah.
Like the kind of Christian that I am, there are millions of us. And we're just minding our business, doing our thing, everything like that, trying to be good, donate when we can. We see somebody in need to help them out. And we're not going out there like pushing it on other people and everything like that. It's the ones that are out there doing that that really tank it for the rest of us.
And
And it is. It's because it's the loudest. They don't have to have many be loud. You
mhm.
just have to have somebody being loud enough to ruin the party.
No, that's true. And you're right. It's not entirely fair. However, that said, in the same regard of
Still
you
got
kind of,
2,000 years of history working against us.
that's the thing. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, wow,
Are we the
yes, I
baddies?
if I'm walking through, a parking lot at night and I happen to come upon a lady walking alone in the parking lot and I see her pull her keys out and put them, in the fist with the keys out, okay, I can take it personal that she sees me as a threat, or I can accept the fact that there was a not small chance that I was a threat in her mind and just accept that.
And I do get see, but I
And
get
that's
that.
basically how most, especially in America, most of us non-Christians, we
Well,
have
the interesting part about this, and here's where I kind of want to bite back on it,
Mhm.
is Portland is the city of you can never punch down, or you can never punch down. You should only punch up.
Yeah.
However, the way that a lot of Christians are raised is to turn the other cheek, to let stuff go. So being caught in situations like that, the actual lessons that we are taught is to just be absolutely hammered and treated like shit and just never bite back. Which, in those situations when we were literally fighting, like people were just sitting there ripping on me for like being a Christian, I never bit back.
And you
Like
know
I
what?
never
I'm
bit
proud of
back
you.
a single time. I
Yeah.
took all the shit in the world and I just sat there, honestly doing the Christian thing and just judging the shit at everybody around me. I'm like, it's honestly fucked up that you guys can sit here and talk about how the world is so mean to you and how everybody should be nice to each other and all this peace and love and happiness. And you, as a room, are collectively shitting on the guy who stretches the canvas, the lowest rung in this room, the brokest person. You guys are sitting here just actively shitting on me because I was raised in the church. And I'm not a dick about it in any way. I didn't push it
Yeah.
on anybody or anything like that. It just was discovered about me. And it's hard to not see that as punching down because the whole point is to not fight back. So that's basically like punching a dummy.
I mean, I can kind of see where you're coming from,
Even though the
but
asshole Christians out there don't abide by the rules,
yeah.
The ones who do, that's the situation that we find ourselves in, and then we tune in and find out like how much the whole world hates us because of stuff we don't do. It's like, yeah, turn the other cheek, I
Well,
guess.
I mean,
But I, like I said,
look, I wish I had a
I
solution for
do
that.
understand the other side.
Mm.
2,000 years of some pretty shady shit working against us.
And some current events of shady shit.
Well, that's part of 2,000 years.
I mean, for crying out loud, Did you hear? Apparently, the Vatican has just put out their own anime mascot.
No, I didn't hear that at all.
Yeah,
It's really
apparently
funny.
the Vatican has decided to become a part of anime culture. They put out their own anime mascot. I don't know if
Well,
anime can take that hit.
I was actually thinking about,
Anime already has a problem with over sexualizing children. If we get the Catholics involved,
oh
we're
my
fucked.
God, I did not think you were going there. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's the
I,
end. It's the end of anime right there.
it, it could be, but at the same time, that actually, I've been thinking about getting the children in my family, especially the ones that are in the church right now. Not something I'm going to push on. I had some moments of hesitation because last year I was talking to some of my family members and the younger ones who
Mhm,
are in high school at this point, and I was talking a little bit about evolution. We were talking about that book, *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, and I was discussing with the very young one about evolution and all that. And
mhm.
then the teenager went, "No, God made man." And I got worried
See, there you
because,
go.
I mean,
Yeah.
faith is one thing, and it is like the faith, the golden rule, how to treat people the way that you want to be treated, things like that, all that
Mhm.
fantastic lessons. Don't kill people, great lessons.
Sure.
The Bible does have some things that you can't take away. But at the same point, we have learned many, many things, and there's no reason. One thing that I really love about scientists is scientists can believe in God, but
Mhm.
religious figures have a hard time believing in science. And I don't like that because I'm more on the scientist side.
Mhm.
In my mind, God has made infinite discoveries.
Sure. Yeah.
The path that was laid out in front of us, it is not going to end unless we end it ourselves. But what is out there, the aspect of a creator, things like that, whether you want to call it simulation theory, no matter, like, whatever it is, it was created, whether it was created by something or by just itself.
Mhm.
It's there.
Yeah.
And that alone is one of the most beautiful things
Well,
to
yeah, and
for
that's
me to
that's the
think
thing.
about.
That's the thing is like that's one of the and when I talk about like okay, and I just want to reiterate, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about
I don't
you
take
know,
shit personally, man. That's
yeah.
not how this goes.
When I'm having these familial arguments with people trying to bring me back to the church,
Oh,
um,
yep.
that is um
It
God,
is rough. Like, I don't think people.
I got so wrapped up in my pre-apology there that I forgot what I was going to say.
I know I was trying to pick it up for you a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's something like in my family, I don't think people fully realize how much it hurts when they say things like, "Oh, I wish I would have raised you in the church more. Then you'd be this kind of
Mhm.
man." It's like I'm actually pretty okay with the guy I am.
Well,
Like,
that's the thing, and that's kind of like where it comes down to. I've noticed with yourself included, the good Christians out there. It has been my experience that I feel like if I were to somehow, by some, for lack of a better word, by some miracle, prove to you that there was no God, Magic 8 Ball, is there a God? Signs point to no. If that were at all possible to do, I genuinely believe that it would not change your character. You would still
no,
be a good person. You would still care about your family just as much. You would still be just as good of a friend to your friends. Like I
yeah, no,
don't
my religion has nothing to do with any of that stuff.
right. And that's kind of like I feel where also to some degree some folks where even to someone like you might try to anti proselytize because from our
What
viewpoint,
is that word? The
anti-proselytize.
okay.
um, we know take the God away from you. Uh, instead of bringing the good word to you, we're taking the word back. Um,
Wow. Okay.
um, we kind of like, while as yes, there can be uh, a philosophy to look back on when that the danger that we see with the obedience part of it is not worth what you get from it. You already get that from yourself.
Okay. Well, yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. I honestly, it's hard for me to imagine a world without religion and
Mm.
see it as a good
Oh,
thing, a
certainly
bad
not.
thing. Like it's just
I remembered what I
it's
was going
kind
to
of
say.
hard to see it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say, and it was on that same thing of not saying that that everyone should be absolutely atheistic. There definitely is a value in a certain level of spirituality, because
Well,
there
yeah.
is so much out there that we can not understand and we may never understand. Having a sort of ethereal placeholder to work around, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with calling something dark matter until you figure out what the fuck it actually is. There's nothing wrong with saying, well, the spirits of the trees are angry that that we cut them down, and that's why all the animals are leaving. Like, sure, it's a little more complicated than that on a biometric system, but I mean, it if you need that placeholder to get you there quickly to somewhere where you probably would have gone anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having it written down in words, thou shalt not kill, even though instinctively we all were born fucking knowing that. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes when you have a power structure, whether it is a government, whether it is a religion on a whole, whether it is a single specific church, whether it is a family unit, where what one person says, whether they have a reason or not, trumps everyone else's feelings, beliefs, personal experiences, regardless. That's where the issue comes in. And when it comes to when religions become institutions, that is inevitable. We've seen it happen with Christianity. We've seen it happen with Islam. We've seen it. We've even seen it happen with Judaism in some countries. Any country that has an official church sanctioned religion, it happens to that religion, regardless of how peaceful and philosophical and right it started as. It stops becoming about the personal beliefs and starts becoming about the power structure. And right now in America, Christianity is the biggest threat that we have on that. And so that gets everyone's cackles up.
Well, okay,
And
that I mean, and that's I was gonna bring that point up a little bit earlier. It is the major religion here, so it is the one that most people talk about, but that is, and it's the thing that most people have the most education in.
mm,
However, if you look at almost any religion, I'm pretty sure any one of the 3,000 religions that span this planet, you're going to find violent stories in every single one of them and in the histories of those people. Putting that purely on Christianity just seems like punching up, or it just seems like personal shit.
well, and it kind of is, yes, but that's kind of the point I'm saying, is that
But
yes,
the
you
thing
know,
is,
in
like I understand the aspect of, you got your personal thing. The thing that gets me though is when it's like, oh, Christians are the only ones. It's like, hold up, pump the
yeah,
brakes. That is not the case. Like that is like I get it. Like, do as a Christian, I've read the things that we have done, and oh my god, I
yeah,
mean, just talk about the Crusades. And here's something that really bothered me. I got like when we like living out on the coast. I had so many people had so much like hatred boners for Christianity. They were blaming Christianity for things that they didn't even do. Like
oh, like what?
the fall of the Abbasid al Caliphate that turned into Baghdad. I remember sitting there with people talking about how the Crusades took out Baghdad. that was the grandson of Genghis Khan. That was not
Hmm.
Christianity.
I seem to remember hearing that it was the Crusades as well, but I don't remember exactly where I heard that from.
And that's the thing, like that, like the hatred that they get the credit for things that they didn't even do. When, come on, man. Yes, Christianity has done some messed up stuff across the planet. Are we really going to erase the Mongols? I mean, come
Well,
on.
I mean,
And are we
that's
going to
our
pretend
family,
that the
man.
Mongols were Christians?
Like, 30% of us, that's our dad you're talking about, buddy.
Yeah, when I mentioned the grandson of Genghis Khan, I'm like, okay, which one?
Yeah.
There were whoa. But that,
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing, like, because this is the country that, like, it is. That is the thing. People know more about it, so it catches all the hatred. I remember living in Los Angeles with a roommate uh, who was not white, who thought that white people were the root of all evil, confused the hell out of me, not because he thought white people were the root of all evil, but because he chose to live with two white people. Like, why?
I mean,
If I was
right.
racist, I would not go live with the people I hate. That is the craziest thing to me.
I mean, sure, but at the same time,
There's no way you
Mitch,
agree with that.
Mitch McConnell married a Chinese woman, so and he's definitely fucking racist. So,
Where that's true, is he racist against Asians? I mean, the age fits, but I don't
yeah,
know. I
that's
mean,
true. Hard to say. Yeah,
that's kind of like, just because you are racist against one group doesn't mean you're racist against another.
that's true.
Like the stereotypes that go against black people, those are nothing like the stereotypes that go towards Asian people. So if you have your hatred because of the stereotypes, I but then again, racism doesn't really make a whole lot
But
of
also,
sense anyway.
we're talking about L.A. though, right? I mean, considering how bad the housing market is down there, I don't imagine he had a lot of choice in who he could live with.
Where that is true, you're still. I never understood that one. I really never did. Like, thinking that white people are the root of all evil, that that is just, in my eyes, loudly screaming that you have no education.
I mean,
People
maybe, yeah.
are bad. There are every single race, every creed, everything. There have been evil people in every group. Putting it all on one group makes absolutely no sense unless you are trying to be stupid.
And it may be again, like I said, the the lady with the keys in her fist, like I could take it personally, or I can go like, well, yeah, probably in her experience, it's like a 1 in 10 chance.
Oh, I'm
So
not super taking it personally. I'm just talking
yeah,
about it because I have a podcast
right,
and I'm trying to fill an hour.
right, right. I got you.
But those are, but, and I mean, realistically, man, after all these episodes, we're gonna cross into certain conversations. Like, we're not gonna hit this one again, but
Probably not for a while, at least, anyway.
probably, yeah, probably not for a while. But we've been kind of dancing around this one for a while. So I think it was kind of smart to actually get to it.
No, yeah,
But that,
but
like, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, like, I mean, I try to, I do try to be respectful. I mean, I have Christian family members. I was technically raised in the church as well, albeit a much more liberal church than most. Um, I mean, we were technically Methodists, which is,
See, that's the thing. I do refer to myself as a Christian. I don't know what any of the differences are. I
I
have
mean, well,
been
so,
to Catholic church a couple times, and that was very uncomfortable
yeah,
because
yeah,
I like to go to gospel. I like to go to church and sing and
hmm
have fun and, like, feel the celebration of life type deal, community. I
yeah. We
don't
didn't do
like
any of
going
that.
to
Yeah,
church and feeling bad.
yeah.
And when I went to Catholic church, I just felt bad.
See, well, at my church, it was kind of more ceremonial than anything like else. There wasn't a lot of
Hmm.
that feeling. It was neither feeling bad nor good. It was more about going through the motions of the ceremony. Then we get a sermon from the preacher. Except mostly in my case, I barely got to see the sermon because that was when like they would send the kids off to youth group and we'd have like a whole separate discussion, with the youth group leader.
Oh, so,
So
okay. So the way that you grew up, you never had the fat lady in the pews that jumps up, and I feel the power of Jesus. Enter me, Jesus.
no,
Enter me.
nope,
I feel it. I feel it. I love Jesus.
nope.
I will never forget that woman for the rest of my days. I remember her hairstyle, what she was wearing, and I remember how afraid I was that I was going to get knocked out by one of her big fat old woman boobs. Like, I will never forget. But also and that was my first day at at Black Church,
Mm.
which is funny because it's the only church that was in my town that was purely painted white. I thought that was always funny. But my buddy, he was the pastor's kid, so I took a break from my church and I went and I joined him at his. And so when it was a hell of a lot of fun, the music, like my buddy was jamming on the drums, and I was out in the pews with the other people. And that was like, that's the kind of church that you go and you like walk away from like, man, I understand Sunday after church dinner or lunch or the barbecues or whatever, because that was a workout. It was
Okay.
like the dance and the singing, everything like that. That was so much fun. That felt like a celebration of life.
Okay. See, yeah.
When it comes to going to like Catholic church, I'm just I like for the audience, I'm referencing the difference between gospel church and Catholic church. Catholic church just made me feel bad.
Hmm.
But when I was in basic training, this is a really cool thing about the army. No matter what religion you are, they will honor it. On Sunday, it does not matter. You will go to whatever church that they offer, and you can pick and choose. So while I was there, I went to the gospel a couple times, never wanted to stop.
Hmm.
It was fantastic. It was wonderful. It was fun. Did not walk out of there feeling guilty. I walked out of there feeling rejuvenated and a new sense of life. And
Good. Yeah.
yeah, I do not understand Catholics. I
It's
don't
obedience.
understand why that. Okay, there you go. Specifically to Catholicism, I am going to wildly agree with you there.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure as a Lutheran, if I paid attention more, it was probably the same. But I don't think they cared as much. Like like it seemed like the message was more over who you are.
Mm.
Like that's the message I grew up with, at least. Like, don't run away from hell. Don't run to heaven. Live your life and be a good person.
See, well, and see, that's the thing is like I didn't really get enough of what the actual message was at my church because I basically left before, like I said, I got old enough to sit through the sermons. Most of it was, during the sermons. Instead, I went with the other kids down into the youth chapel and we did Bible study basically, where we were taught, you
Playing
know,
hacky sack
no, we didn't play hacky sack. We were
is what we
basically
did.
like we'd get like one passage of the Bible that we would read and talk about. Well, what does this mean? And what do and we'd get the usual stuff. We get the
See,
prodigal
I never
son.
even
We get
made
all
it that far.
yeah, like we got the parable of the prodigal son. We got all the Jesus stuff. And it was yeah, it was like it was Bible. It was like grade school. In grade school they teach you where the red fern grows, and in Bible study they teach you specific passages of the Bible. That was basically how it was.
I think my buddy David
And
actually won Bible study because every time he went to Bible study, there was a copy of Lord of the Rings, and he would read that instead.
nice, that's
He
lucky,
won.
yeah.
Yeah.
But before I even graduated out of that, and that was basically like I got in an argument with another kid in my youth group, and over some interpretations of the Bible. And what pissed me off about it was that he kept quoting Bible passages at me, basically going like this and then this and then this, and I had no retort. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. So I went home and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm gonna read this Bible cover to cover. So the next time I will have ammunition, I'll be able to come at him with Bible passages too. I was halfway through the Bible before I was like, oh God, this is all bullshit. And that was how I became an atheist. Um, Never went back to church. And yeah.
I struggled with the idea. I called myself an atheist a little bit. Uh,
What?
hey Bryce, dude. One, I didn't know that we were streaming to Facebook, so that is a fun surprise. But also, dude, a guy I served with just jumped on, and holy crap, buddy! I hope you've been good. Like, wow, that I just saw that name pop up, and that kind of wow, man, this dude, he's funny.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a picture of him, like his wife, kids, everything like that. I got to imagine he went off to become a fantastic dad.
Nice.
He was a good guy to serve with. So that is, man,
Well,
that's really
welcome.
cool to see.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
show.
definitely. Welcome to the show, man. Uh, got about 20 minutes left of the after hour where we're bouncing back and forth between the defense and offense of Christianity. Wow. What a first episode to
We
jump in
just
on.
got done with two movies about the afterlife, so of course we're talking about Christianity. Like,
Well, you know what? That is a good actual that is a good point. That is a really good point. But also, damn it, I really didn't know that we were streaming to Facebook. I have a lot of Christian friends and family members that are on there that
ooh,
I hope I'm doing the religion justice, guys. No, the funny part is I remember the exact thing that kicked up this like night of everybody bashing me for being a Christian.
oh yeah,
It was we were all talking about like stealing things as kids. And I remember bringing up that I stole the dumbest thing ever. It was a bumper sticker from Sam Goody that said Jesus is my homeboy.
wow, wow, wow. You did you even know what the word irony meant at that time?
I don't think I did. But that yeah, that was I don't even remember why I did it. I don't remember what I was doing. I was just an 11-year-old kid that just wanted to swipe something. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know,
The
just
first time,
impulse control as a kid. I don't know.
yeah, I think I was like 6 years old the first time I stole something by accident. I was at the department store with my mom, and there was this. It was like a lapel pin. It was like a button, and there's this plastic novelty pin that said "Hey, good looking" on it. And I remember picking it up off the floor because it was like on the there was this display with all these buttons, and then one had fallen on the floor. And I picked it up off the floor to look at it, and my mom was walking away. She didn't notice I had stopped. And so as I go to show it to her, and I see that she's gone way far away, and I'm like, oh shit. And I just start running to join her and shove the thing in my pocket without even thinking about it. And then it was mine from then on.
Well, that's a nice little innocent story, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously, when I was a small child, I did swipe shit all the time, and it was not on accident. It was things like donuts from the gas station, things like that. No, I was a little bit of an asshole as a kid. I get that, but like, no, I think when we were telling those stories, it was a little bit older, but that was like the last one I had. On the other side of the table, the the woman I was dating at the time talked about how she stole like this her and her buddy stole like this huge jar of like loose change from this family, and I was like, how much was it? And she told me it was over $1,000, and I'm like,
That's not cool at
I'm
all.
catching the jokes. You're a legit criminal that straight up probably stole somebody's like vacation fund that they'd been working on
Yeah.
for years or something. And I'm catching the shit because I'm a Christian? Damn, maybe you should go to church, bitch. I think that actually is the joke I said at that time.
That's a good
But at
one.
the,
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that. There, you know, and here's the
I was
thing,
pretty
and
shocked by that. Like when they told me that and like how like super proud she was on that and how funny she thought it was. I'm like, dude, you're a bad person.
yeah, that's horrible.
I think that was
Stealing from
yeah.
stealing from corporations is not really stealing because corporations aren't people. But you can't steal from people, man. That's not cool.
Yeah, I mean, like stealing from corporations, you do it enough, people get fired because they got like the bottom line is the one that suffers. So there is still that effect, but at the same time, I do agree with you.
Mm.
There's I don't know, man. Like that's all of it's bad. Like if you don't think that like stealing from corporations and stuff like that is that bad, then honestly, you probably then logically you don't really think what Trump did was that bad.
Which one?
The convictions that he faced following falsifying document or financial
Oh, yeah.
documents.
No, yeah, actually, I don't for that one. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that pisses me off most about it because out of all the fucking things that that guy did, that is probably the least consequential crime he committed, and yet it's the only one we got any convictions for.
That
That
is
is that.
probably true. That is like there were not like there's not a lot of fallback on that that actually happens on people, but those types of crimes massively impact the regular person. You overinflate your assets and you talk about an area that is like especially when you're talking about in what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like economics, housing, landscaping,
Oh,
real estate. But
yeah.
when you're getting into real estate and you artificially inflate the value of your assets and you have
Hmm.
those assets in particular neighborhoods, everybody in that neighborhood winds up
Yeah.
getting fucked because of what you lied on a document to up the value for your sale.
No, yeah.
So, where I do agree that's probably the least consequential crime that he committed, I'm not going to say that I'm not okay with the fact that he got charged. I do not think any of these things are okay because the fallout that happens from those types of crimes unbelievably affect the average man and that or the average person and that just those are the crimes that I care about most. Like
Oh, and
I
for
don't
sure,
mind
yeah.
paying
I don't
taxes.
like it's
I
not
do
this.
mind paying taxes when they go towards police paying off lawsuits and pharmaceutical companies doing advertising. But
Yeah.
I don't like so that bothers me. But if my taxes were straight up used for roads, schools, certain food programs, things like that, I have no problem with that. That is just my contribution to society.
Sure. Yeah.
But
No, I'm right there with you
there's
on
the
that one.
line
Yeah.
you kind of bounce back and forth with.
Hmm. And sometimes it is difficult. I mean, like how much of the government, like necessary parts of the government, would get funded if we let everybody pick and choose? Like if there was a form you could, while you were filling out your taxes, if you could say, "All right, here's what I want my taxes to go towards." Like, do we think Meals on Wheels would still get all the money it needs if
Oh
we
yeah.
let people do that?
Oh,
Can you?
very much so.
You think so?
Well, you have to put it this way. If you had the option to let police departments use your tax dollars to pay off lawsuits, if you had the option to let pharmaceutical companies use your tax dollars for advertising, if I mean we can go on for a long
Mm.
time about all those things. If you had the option to opt out of all of those things and you had things like Meals on Wheels sitting there, I
Okay,
bet
well,
Meals
let's.
on Wheels would get funded 10 times over
No, you're probably right there. Yes, that's probably true.
because I
Because
mean
people are generally people do in general do the right thing when given the opportunity to. There's a few.
if it's right in front of them and the option is easy and there's
Mhm.
no big like incentive not to do the right thing, no, I think people do the right thing most of the time.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's just I mean, but that hey, maybe that's the optimism of the channel rubbing off on me. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I do. I mean, and it's interesting. I was actually thinking about this the other day about how you and I, we are weirdly polar opposites when it comes to uh, pessimism and optimism. I am
Well, yeah.
wildly optimistic about things you are pessimistic about, and you are wildly optimistic about things I'm pessimistic about. And we never seem to come to agreement on any of these things. We are optimistic and pessimistic about different things, at different, and never the same time. Like it's
I feel like
it's
that makes for
weird.
a good show.
I mean, I hope so. Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. We have some subscribers, so something is happening
Yeah,
okay.
I still am pretty sure that most of them are just falling asleep to the sounds of our voices, and I'm okay with that.
I would agree with you. The only reason that I know that it's not always the case is because I have the live viewer count that I'm looking at right here. So I
Yeah.
see when they like so if they jumped in and just stayed the whole time, it would be that way. But they come in, they come out, they come in, they go out. People are like making phone calls, doing this, like is what it is.
Okay.
But like I'm I mean, the audience is growing slowly, but it is happening. And that, well, like I was saying when I sent you like the analytics for the podcast and
Oh
all the
yeah.
different states and all the different places in the world that people are listening, that
Yeah.
feels good.
It is kind of fascinating to see that, especially, I mean, even some of, like, I mean, there's a couple of the dots are, there's a dot in Portland, and so it's like, okay, I get it. That may be me. That could be some of my friends and family. Who knows? But yeah, it's like we got
Are
dots in
you downloading the
Florida.
show?
I'll occasionally throw it on to watch and
Oh, that's
listen to.
cool.
Yeah, just to, well, especially if it's something like, okay, I have that thing every once in a while where, like, the next day I'll go, oh God, did I really put my foot in my mouth? I got to listen to that. Do I need to apologize for something?
I've started the edit immediately after the show because I've been worried about shit like that. Like I've gone immediately and I'm like, I have the live still sitting out there. Should I should go check. And like our first like 15 episodes, I was falling asleep to our show afterwards because
Okay.
we would cut the show and then I would review the footage so I could do the edit the next day because at that point I hadn't figured out the things about the audio and all this. So there was a certain point where I had it kind of dialed in. Now, when I say dialed in, I'm not removing any of the ums, I'm not removing any of the mouth noise, I'm not removing any of the like any of the things.
Right.
I was just letting it go. And if we came across a topic that I was like, maybe I should cut that out, I cut it out. Uh, Now I'm sitting here literally staring. I can recognize the audio like design of when you say words now. Like I can look at the
That's
screen
kind of
and
epic,
see
sir.
like I can see the blocks and know that that is you saying what.
Oh, here's where Doc said tertiary again.
It's been a while, actually. I was thinking about that
You
on last
called it
edit.
out, so now I can't ever say it again.
It was fun. You were using it a lot at that point. I swear to God, at that point, I thought you got word of the day toilet paper and it got stuck on your shoe. Like, it was fucking funny. Ooh, that was actually funny. I like stumble, like, it's fun to stumble into shit like that.
Yeah, that was a good
No,
one.
no, damn, man. Like, okay, the last few minutes of the after hour, I really want to talk about the real world applications and terror of the serpent and the rainbow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, because
I have not I have not studied anything about Haiti or the Tonton since that one class in high school. So my
no,
other than
it was just my tertiary research into this movie
yeah.
for the episode. And as I was doing that, I read in like so the real like the person that this was based off of and all of this who Christoph was based off of, I
Mhm.
read their accounts, I read what happened to them and dude, that they like that and that was where I was referencing like some of the things that I was talking about. They dropped them into the ground and over the course of 12 hours, the brain damage and the things that happen and the way that you can go into like hypnotic suggestion as you come out of that, you're right. They would tell them they were dead and because of hypnotic suggestion and the elasticity of the brain at that point,
Right.
they believed they were dead and they were zombies and all of this. And man, like the way that like weighs on my soul, I swear to God,
Yeah.
dude, it's way too heavy. tricking people into being slaves because they think they're ghosts.
Yeah.
How much more real world horrifying can you get?
It's one of those things where you gotta like ask yourself, first of all, how did anyone even think to do that? And then even once they did, how did that catch on as like a thing? Because this became an operation for a while, like I mean a long time. So it and yeah, it's one of those things where you can kind of like look back on it in history and go like, Jesus, that was fucked up. But how did how did that not occur to them while they were doing it?
You have to imagine that it did. I mean,
Yeah.
you just have to. I don't know how you can't. I mean that you talk about well, you specifically
Hmm.
talk about you remove religion and everything like that, and the average person is going to know right from wrong.
Yeah. I believe it is an evolutionary imperative. What we call morality is an evolutionary imperative. I believe it.
Some people combat that pretty hard.
And that is, yeah. Unfortunately, that is one of those the nature of humanity is that we are a varied species. And it has been a superpower for us for the first million years of evolution. Now it's a bit of an issue.
Well,
But unfortunately, everyone who's ever come along to try to fix that issue tends to be the worst. So,
where that's true, either the worst or they just get shot really young. The I don't know. I mean, how quickly we're approaching the singularity.
mm,
I mean, that's really what it's all about. At this point, it's all about the singularity. I
you
really
think?
do believe that.
Hmm.
I mean, what
Well,
else are
what do
like
what effect do you think that's going to have? I mean,
immortality? Um, there is going to be a challenge in religion.
mm,
I mean, there's no way. I mean, I think it's even in the Bible that God said that He's not going to let people live after a certain age because before the flood, people were like hundreds of years old or something.
okay.
Like, so once people start outliving that age set, that's going to challenge the religion. I think once we get past the challenging of religions and all that, and we get to the acceptance over the education and the wisdom that can come from a singularity,
Mm,
I think we will be propelled into a type 2 civilization. But I think that, I mean, but this is the era. This is the era that we are on the cusp.
I suppose it's possible. Yeah.
Not us, but
Maybe.
like our direct
Yeah.
descendants or
Maybe.
their direct
Maybe like
descendants.
grandchildren, great grandchildren level, like close enough
Well,
that you could
yeah,
say it in a
once
sentence.
we actually do attain, like once AI reaches that point, we reach the singularity, we can send things off into space that literally require no observation, no oversight, no maintenance. They are out, they're doing their job.
Mm,
No, that I think that we will start approaching a type 2 civilization. And what is it, type 3 that has the Dyson sphere? Dyson sphere?
I don't know actually.
I can't remember
Mm,
exactly how that breaks down, but it's either type 2 civilization or type 3 civilization. Uh is the thing that puts a Dyson sphere around the sun and actually harnesses the total solar
yeah.
energy from the sun to power literally everything.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, we're a lot closer to that getting started than I think people really want to give credit for.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've said this before. Shit's gonna be weird in 500 years. I,
Oh, hell
I,
yeah, it is.
I kind of would hope to see it. And that's.
The next version of me. Whatever.
But
I want to check out for a while, man. Like just I don't want to see Avengers 14. Just like
Oh, talk about losing your religion. Jesus, man.
I'm sorry. Oh,
Well,
by
but
the way,
here
go
here's the
watch
interesting.
Agatha all along. Holy
I
crap.
intend to. Yes, I
It
definitely plan
the
to.
watched the finale today and it was great.
Hmm.
That is going to bring a close to the after hour though. Are you good?
Uh, I would like to
We
give
can go
one
a little
last bit of
longer.
it. I can like to give a little bit of affirmation, actually, because I did
Go for it.
spend most of this episode shit talking Christianity and religion in general. So I would like to affirm one positive thing.
Dude, you have spent most of our friendship doing that.
There
Go.
is, while I may have an issue with religion in general, and especially organized and institutionalized religions, especially, what I do find has an immeasurable, fantastic value to humanity is spirituality in general. Any
Oh, I
sort
can't agree
of,
with that. Like
like a,
the community sense.
the community sense, the sort of like connectedness to your surroundings, the idea of I may not understand this completely, but I can still value it. Things like, understanding that trees are alive too, that kind of thing. Understanding that even a rock sitting in the middle of a field has a history and a spirit and a place in this universe, however small it may be. There is value to that way of thinking. And so I would not rob anybody of that. I try to keep that within myself. I think it is next to the arts, I think it is one of the most contributing things to our modern culture and our continued evolution as a species. So I just want to make it very clear that while, yes, I should talk religion, a sense of spirituality and connectedness to yourself and the greater universe, that's fantastic shit, and everyone should have more of it.
The funny I'm gonna close the after hour on just one very funny observation. You have moi
Mm-hmm.
in a straight up
Oh,
linen
that's a tunic you're wearing, sir.
and wearing prayer beads. You and I'm talking about Christianity and faith.
Right.
You wearing a flower shirt with your long hair and hippie beard,
Yep.
talking about spirituality of the rocks. This is this is too fucking just on the goddamn nose. It's too
Little
fucking
bit.
funny.
Yeah.
All right.
Should have considered the visuals there. Yeah.
It was fun. Like the whole time that you were giving that, I was just like, I was just kind of taking you in as.
I should have put the sunglasses back on and
Oh,
been
that
like,
would
"We're
have
all
been.
connected, man."
It's just like your opinion, man. All right, guys, we will see you next.